So welcome to the part one of our webinar on exploring the ABCs of modern hiring. I'm Ishita Singh, the product marketing specialist at PyjamaHR. As some of you may already know, PyjamaHR is a forever-free applicant tracking software designed to help recruitment teams globally to streamline their hiring process. I'm delighted to have Navin Rane, founder and leadership talent hunter at NetSyscon Consulting, as our guest speaker today. He has a proven track record in building strong leadership teams for high growth companies. As an entrepreneur himself, Navi is passionate about helping founders scale their businesses. He specializes in crafting effective teams for early stage startups. During this webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and we will give you the opportunity to speak. So, without further ado, let's get started. Over to you, Navi. You're on mute.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Ishita, and welcome everyone. A big thank you to PyjamaHR for making this happen. I'm glad to talk about something that I really love. Recruitment is something which is how I started my career, and I'm happy to talk about it right now. So that was a very good introduction about me. Now, but a bit more on this side is I've had the opportunity to work on the line side as well as on the HR side. Okay, so that allowed me to understand the tussle and what are the challenges faced on each side. Okay, because that's generally the problem which happens in terms of recruitment. So we'll be able to cover a few aspects over here, and this is going to be a very quick run through a lot of recruitment processes. And something interesting happened right now. When we were talking about Chat GPT coming in and technology coming in, I was so happy that while connected, there was some problem with my audio, and it took me about 5 minutes to fix that. Okay, so we really don't have to worry about technology much as long as we're developing our skills. And this webinar is going to cover a few aspects, how we're going to be different, what would differentiate you from just a process. Okay, so let me just share my screen. So this is a three-part web series, and here we're talking about exploring the ABCs of modern hiring. Okay, so we have technology coming in, and how are we going to hire? So hiring as a process is a very simple process, and we believe that it's always better to keep things simple. You should not really be complicating things. So that is the core agenda here. And how we're going to do it is we're going to the first session, the part one of the session is going to talk about building the foundation here. Okay, and this is more in terms of how we need to look at recruitment from an internal manner. Then part two would be operations, recruitment operations. That's how the aspects that we're looking at in terms of hiring. What are the different tools and techniques that we'll be using? And third, eventually, is more towards engagement, how you engage with your candidate and how you build relationships. Right now, moving on. This is a typical process here. So identify, so this is since most of us are already working in different departments, you're familiar with the process here. So this is nothing new here. Identifying hiring needs. So once we get the requirements, we should be gathering the requirements, building a job description around it, doing a talent search, building a recruitment strategy, then finding a pool of people, shortlisting and screening, and then eventually interviewing them and taking them through different processes, evaluating and eventually putting across an offer. Okay, and then you have introduction and induction. So this is the whole talent acquisition process. Okay, now most of the aspects in this particular process can be replicated by technology. Okay, but if you want to differentiate yourself from technology and be something up, here's what you need to do. You're going to develop certain skills, and to demonstrate that, I'm going to show you something interesting. I'm just going to escape this. Okay, so what we see here on the screen is that we've got this tree here. Okay, there's a road passing by. There's a car here, and then you've got Sneha standing at the foot of the tree. We've got Rahul somewhere in the middle, and Priya right on top of the tree. Okay. Now, this is what I'm trying to explain here is the mindset that you need to have, the strategy that you need to build. Okay, and most of these concepts which I'm going to talk about are not just for recruitment alone. It is overall in general in business that you could apply. Okay, so now when we talk about this particular car, okay, so when this car is traveling, okay, from one side of the road to the other, let's say when the car reaches this particular part, right? So Priya will say, hey, a car is coming. Rahul might say that, okay, I can hear a car, but I really cannot see it. What car are you talking about? Okay. And Sneha would say, oh, what? I can't even, what car are you talking about? I cannot really see anything. Now, what happens is, being on top, Priya has a vision which is much further than Rahul or Sneha. Okay. Whereas Rahul has a limited vision and Sneha has a much more limited vision. Okay. It is only when the car starts moving ahead, starts approaching, okay, where Priya will start saying that, oh, the car is come. Rahul still doesn't know whether the car is there or not. He'll say, oh, what car? But I can hear it. As the car moves forward, now for Priya, this car is old. Okay. For Rahul, the Rahul say, oh yeah, now I can see this car. Okay. And Sneha is still yet to see that particular car. The car moves forward. Now Sneha sees it. For Priya, this car is ages old. For Rahul, this car is pretty old now. And Sneha is seeing it. The same process as the car passes by. When the car moves ahead, Sneha is yet to see the car through. Rahul is still watching it and he sees the car through now. However, Priya sees it right until the end. Okay, so the idea of explaining you this process is because who you want to be in the picture. No matter at what level you are, whether you are just starting a career or you are at a much senior level, we need to try to be in Priya's shoes here. We should be able to see the end-to-end picture. Okay, so it's the ability to think end-to-end. You need to have a broad vision. So we need to understand what is the impact of that particular role that we are hiring. So every time a role comes in, when there's a requirement gathering which happens, we need to understand how that particular role is going to impact the vision and the operations of the company or that particular department. So that is the key reason why I wanted to show you that particular example. Now, when you are able to think broad, you're able to think where your employee is going to fit and what is he going to do. Okay, so when you're going to be able to think, you're going to have a broader vision, you're going to be able to understand what this particular person is going to do and what are the challenges that he's going to face. When you're able to see through and through, you're going to assess the impact. That is when you're going to do the right hire. So it's not just about finding the right person for the right talent. Yes, that is one part of it. But understanding the process is something which is more important. Okay, the second skill which is going to matter is you need to be very organized. And in order to be organized, you need to have certain you need to be a strong time manager. You need to set goals for what you're doing. You need to have attention for detail. You need to be well planned. You need to ask help whenever required. You need to be committed. So commitment, what I mean to say is here is that if you commit for something, if you say that okay, day after I'm sending an email, it should happen that you send an email. So this is going to smoothen the process between the whole recruitment process and your stakeholders. Okay. So when we talk about a commitment, when we say, okay, a candidate is supposed to get back to you by day after tomorrow. Okay. And we are trying to process this particular candidate. Now take an example. This often happens that we're trying to reach the candidate, but he might be busy or he's probably unable to answer your call. And you're yet to find this candidate. Now, often what happens is because we've not got a reply, we would never even bother to talk about and write, okay, I'm yet to receive a communication from this candidate. So what the right thing to do here is to inform your client that okay, inform the client or the stakeholder, whatever applies here, that this particular I'm trying to reach this candidate, I'm yet to reach him. As soon as I reach him, I'll get back to you. But there should be some communication which goes at that time. So that's more about being organized. And when you're talking about being organized, all these aspects together come together to make you a better organized person. And you should be using certain tools. So there are tools. There are a lot of technology which is available right now, which is going to help you be organized. You can. I use a simple Excel sheet and I note down my tasks and make sure that they're ticked. There's a checklist which I create for my day-to-day tasks. My day begins by listing down whatever task I have for the day. It includes the kind of roles, it includes the kind of follow-ups I have, and which allows me. And as soon as I complete a task, I start ticking them off my list. And so another part of being organized. And if you're committed, if you need to decide that okay, this particular task is going to be carried out in the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour, whatever. So you decide, you determine the time, you need to commit to it, you set a goal for that, and then you try to achieve it. So being organized is something extremely important here. Next here, we're going to talk about another skill which is important, which is to communicate effectively. Now, communication, I generally talk about, especially if you're on the recruitment side of things, if it's a recruitment agency that you belong to. Communication becomes extremely important because I keep talking to my team and I tell them that, we are in the business of communication. The more you communicate, the more you're able to understand messages, the more you're able to relay your messages. That's how things are going to start working for you. So recruitment is about effective communication. So while we talk about that, I'm going to talk about this particular aspect. So it's a very old thing, but we'll talk about a communication cycle here. Okay. So in communication, there's a sender, there's a receiver. So a sender thinks about a message, he then codes it, and then he forwards the message, chooses a channel to relay the message, and then he sends it to the receiver. Now the receiver receives it, but this is only one side of the communication link. Okay. For for the communication cycle to be completed, the receiver should say, yes, I've understood it. Okay, he needs to receive the message, he needs to comprehend the message, then he needs to either acknowledge it by saying, giving a verbal nod, yes, okay, there should be some kind of a relay, information relay which happens here, or there could be a reply to that particular query. And that's how the communication cycle moves along. Okay. However, what happens is we need to be an effective recruiter. Like I said, communication is a very important part here. So when we are receiving emails, when you are receiving applications from clients, or from candidates or from clients, make it a point to always return. So if it's about making phone calls, ensure that even if you're missing, if you're busy, as soon as you are through your meeting, you look at your phone, you see that, okay, there are a number of missed calls, return these calls on the same day. Do not procrastinate. So it's important that you complete the communication loop. Similarly, in terms of messages or emails, there should be a relay. Sometimes if it is a close-ended message where just an okay or yes will do that. Sometimes if a client has given you feedback, okay, this particular candidate is a reject. Okay, thank you for the feedback. There should be some relay which happens. So make sure that you're completing the communication cycle, right? So that's more about communication. Moving on. Huh. So now another skill which matters here is the integrity. Okay, now when you talk about integrity, I'm going to club it with a few more aspects. So it's important for us to be absolutely honest. Now, when we are hiring for people, there are a lot of times when you would not know. There are new technologies which come in, new job roles which come in. And you, as a recruiter, you're not supposed to know everything. Yes, you're supposed to be well researched, you're supposed to find out. But there would be certain instances, even today, there are a lot of instances where I do not know something. So there's absolutely no harm in being true to your stakeholders and telling them that, okay, this is something which I'm not aware of. Let's be honest about this. This is something which I'm not aware of. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find more information about this and I'm going to get back to you. So that is exactly how it should be taken. So it's important for us to be honest, and it's important for us to be truthful about what we are doing. And if you have that, you are automatically going to take care of your stakeholders. So there's a lot of stakeholder management that we are talking about here. Now, another important aspect about here is when we're talking about stakeholders is the empathy. Okay, now as recruiters, we often get about 100 to 200 or maybe sometimes 1,000 applications per day. What we need to understand here is that someone is sending this particular application to you with some hope. Okay, every time an application is coming to you, the person is hoping that I get this job. You don't know how in need this particular person is for this job. So I understand that there's a lot of workload which happens and there's too much of work pressure to take care of. But I think it's important for us to have empathy for your candidates. We need to make sure that we do justice to each and every profile that comes in. So at least a short reply. There are automated templates which come in, so you can always revert to them. And if not, just connect with that person on LinkedIn and see how you could help. Then, like I said, being transparent. It's about being honest. Whatever information you have, um, we often try to upsell. We try to oversell a particular role or a particular client. So that is not the right idea. What we as recruiters, we are responsible to just place facts. Yes, we are responsible to brand the particular employee, which we'll talk about in ahead. But at the same time, we need to be placing the right facts. So make sure that you are gathering the right facts and you're placing them in a transparent manner. And of course, think win-win. You should all, no matter what your stakeholders are, you need to make sure that we are winning on both ends. So this will ensure that your whole transaction is a success. And like I said, commitment, of course. So whatever you're committing, make sure that you're delivering. So another skill which is going to matter is that you need to be research driven, and you should be able to deep dive into your client. So when you get into a role, it's not just about looking at the JD and then find marking the keywords and then beginning the search. Deep dive in your clients. Understand what is the size of the client. Understand what is the industry that the client is operating in. What is the core business that he's operating in. What kind of a work culture do they have? Uh, I've worked with a lot of startups. There are startups which are working from garages, which grow big, but we need to understand the mindset that an employee would have. What is he going to face when he goes and meets this particular client? So if you're aware, if you have a holistic picture, you're going to be able to make the candidate aware, and you're going to handhold the whole process. So it's important to deep dive, know your client. You should know your role well. You should know all the aspects of the role. You should be able to understand what are the deal breakers which are there. We're going to talk about this in the next session, where we're going to try to identify the core recruitment activities. That's where we'll work on the roles. And of course, knowing your candidates. So what is your candidate's motivation? What does the candidate desire? So this is something which is important. And eventually, what is going to matter here is as a recruiter, we need to be very patient, because no matter how hard you try, you're always going to have spillouts. There are going to be no-shows. People are going to take offers and then get better offers, and that's how business is, right? But there's no point being disappointed. We just have to introspect, look what we did right, and then move forward. So be ready to have lots and lots of patience. And eventually, something which is the most important for a recruiter, and we have to agree that we do have to market. We market the brand, we market the brand that we're working for, we market ourselves as well as the role that we are branding. So I'm going to talk a bit more about this. Now let's talk about the recruiter brand. Why does it matter? Now it matters because when you're trying to reach when you're approaching a particular candidate or even a client, he needs to understand the depth that you hold. He needs to understand the experience that you're coming with. And to build this particular brand, you need to be well researched. So if you try to connect all the dots that I spoke of, you would be able to build your own recruiter brand. And in today's date, we have tools like LinkedIn, which helps you build your brand. So make sure that you have a good LinkedIn profile. Make sure that you've added the key aspects of your role, what you're doing, what are your strengths, and you should always be engaging on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn engagement is a very big topic, and we can cover that sometime later. But a few tips which I can give you is that comment, like, you should be sharing certain aspects which are related to your job profile. If you're hiring for roles, make sure that you're adding those roles and constantly talking about it, communicating with groups which are in the sort of roles. So you should be constantly networking and engaging. So that's part about building a recruiter brand. When it comes to employee branding, now this comes when you're trying to pitch a particular candidate about the role. Now, before pitching the role to the candidate, you need to talk about that particular employer, right? So the first thing that you need to do is you need to research. Now, what there are a few things which are going to matter in terms of an employer. You need to place yourself in the candidate's shoes. Okay, as an applicant, what are the factors that matter? For me, I need to understand when this company was founded. I need to understand who is heading this particular company. What is my future? Is my job secure? Right? What are the working hours? What are the working days? Are they funded? What are the plans for the next few years? Then you need to look at the role branding. You need to understand what are the key aspects why this particular candidate would be really interested in working on this particular role. You need to look at you need to identify the key elements. Who is this person reporting to? What is his career progression going to be? Right? So this is again deep diving into it. And then utilizing the particular data which I spoke about and then marketing is what we're looking at. Right? So this is the sales and marketing aspect which is required in case of talent acquisition. And of course, eventually, to end this, we have different tools which are going to make you efficient. So if you have these skills, we are going to, these are more internal skills that to you. And then we are going to look at certain skills, tools which are there, which are going to make your talent acquisition effective. Okay. So we have organizers which are available like Calendly, calendars, diary. I use a simple Excel sheet. where I note down points and then checklists. There are people who use diaries. And eventually, once you process candidates, you need to store data and you should be able to process data. And to do that, we need ATS. So there are multiple ATS in the market, but they're pretty expensive and you have to pay per user. And here we have PyjamaHR. So with PyjamaHR, we have it's an absolutely free ATS. You can store data. We're going to talk more about it. I'll just escape and quickly show you a few interesting things about it. Right. Okay, so that's Pajama HR. So it will help you track your applications, whatever profiles you're sourcing. So no need to make folders, no need to search for resumes when you need it.
Hi Naveen, actually I think you have just shared the PPT. We are not able to see the ATS.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. Give me a minute. You should be able to see it now.
Yes, it's visible now.
Right. So an ATS is absolutely important because whatever candidates you're processing. Now, one part of a recruiter's journey is that, whatever data you're storing, we should be able to reuse that data because you're building your own database. You're building, you're gaining experience by learning for that particular role and building a database of similar candidates. So whenever you're searching, maybe not now, but every time a new role comes to you, you should be able to search that particular data. So what I've found interesting in case of Pajama HR is that this is a one-point solution where you can store all your data and you can also search that particular data. So it's absolutely accessible. Plus you can track various things. You can post jobs here. We will cover that in the next session, how we're going to be posting jobs and it moves to various job boards. So that's something very cool which I found here. You can schedule interviews. There's a mailbox which is there and many more. So that's more about it. That's a quick run through what the basic fundamentals which I wanted to talk about. We are open for questions now. Okay, so we've got Sakshi.
Hi, I think she was asking if she will be able to get the recording of this webinar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions?
Everyone, you can chat, you can use the chat to write your questions or maybe raise your hands if you want to talk to Naveen or you have any doubts regarding this webinar.
So while we are taking the questions, we can also look at, I would like to invite everyone to connect with me on LinkedIn so we can be connected. We can network and learn from each other.
Naveen, I think there are some questions in the chat box.
Okay, just give me a moment. I'll refer to that. Okay, so we've got Aarti who's asking effects of AI entering recruitment. Okay, interesting question and relevant to the current scenario. Now, so see, technology is always good for any business, but what is important is we need to harness technology. We cannot allow technology to control us. So, technology is always going to require people who are who are required to enter to program that particular technology. So, like I mentioned, there are HR is about human resources. It's about people. So AI is important. Yes, AI is going to ease a lot of things. It's going to make our processes much faster and much smoother. I'll give you a very interesting story, okay, about technology. Since we cannot run from it. If we talk about recruitment about 20 years back, applications were made through mails. It used to take about 3 or 4 days for an application to go to a company. Then that application would be reviewed over weeks and then returned back. So the whole process would take sometimes months. Technology has helped to speed up the whole process, and the whole process can be wrapped up in a matter of few days. We at Nexuscon promised to close roles in 30 days. So that's how AI is going with AI as well is going to do the same thing. There are typical processes where you really don't need the human element, which is going to be covered by AI. But there are going to be aspects where the human element is required. When I spoke about the branding, when I'm talking about the role, understanding the requirements, understanding motivation, the human aspects are things where we are required. That's where the recruiter needs to elevate himself. Hope that answers your question.
Okay. So there are other questions.
Yes.
Ankita is asking, can you please talk more about the PyjamaHR tool?
Okay, so PyjamaHR, I think if you look at the next session, because that is a session where I'm going to talk about the job postings and I'm going to talk about how I use PyjamaHR, how I'm searching my own database, and how I'm tracking interviews and the whole process. So I think that would be a good session for you to actually understand how you could elevate and use PyjamaHR in the correct manner. I hope I have answered that.
Then Rajesh is asking, does it integrate with job portals like Naukri? Yes, Rajesh, it does. Um, it integrates with all the job boards like LinkedIn, IMJobs, InstaHire, and things like that. And next question is, how important is cultural fit in modern hiring, and how can companies ensure that they are hiring people who align with their values and mission?
Okay. So let me just go to the question again. How important is the culture? Okay. Okay. So in terms of cultural fit, I think it starts right from nowadays, the first thing that any candidate, okay, that even we are processing, does is that he goes and tries to find reviews about a particular company. I'm talking about from the candidate's perspective here. So we'll try to understand whether he himself is a cultural fit or not. So there's a lot of data available. There are a lot of reviews which are available where a candidate will try to see what he can expect from that particular company. So we've got Glassdoor and then we've got Ambition Box, which is giving these reviews. So that is one part of it. Okay, from the company's perspective, I think it's about being transparent. Like I mentioned, that there are these. First of all, we need to identify what are the factors that are going to matter in that particular role. So talk about the working hours, the talk about work timings, the progression, the career progression. So if you consider the motivation of the company, you try to match it with the motivation of your candidate or the applicant. That it's something more, it's much more deeper than that. But this is something that we need to look at matching here. And when we talk about interviews, okay, we could talk about a lot of instances. We could talk about a lot of situations. So take an example, if we are in a startup and we have a culture which is a culture which involves a lot of hustle. It has long working hours. I think it's important for us to talk to the candidate and inform him that okay, we need to be transparent and tell him that there are long working hours here. We are at a growth spree here. So are you comfortable with that? It's about being honest. It's about trying to understand the candidate's motivation. And if you're going to be transparent at both ends and hoping, and you can probe the candidate enough, I think we can find a match on the cultural aspect. Okay, let's look at the next question.
Okay, next question is, do PyjamaHR offer paid or premium also, like more services in premium versions? So, hi Vinod. Yes, we offer job boost and assessment features to enhance hiring. These are paid features. Um, I think there are a few questions on the question and answer chat box. Like, we are using PyjamaHR since 2 months now. We can't see the bifurcation of recruiters here. Manisha, can you tell me what kind of bifurcation you are looking for? And there are 3 people who have raised their hands. I am allowing them to talk to you.
Sure.
Is that all right, Navin?
Yeah, please.
Hi, Kanika. You can unmute. I think there is some issue. Dhruva, will you like to talk? You have raised your hand.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Dhruva.
I hope you listen me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Actually, we are a 20 years old consultancy firm. We started in 2001.
Okay.
And you started your platform recently, I think so. So mostly we are doing a leadership hiring. About 10 lakh rupees we are working on that. Fine. And mostly our clients are insurance, NBFCs and ITs and non-IT companies. We have a more than 100 clients with us right now. Fine.
Okay.
So right now we are using a Zoho Recruit. This is a ATS system. You must be knowing about that.
Yes.
Fine. So in comparison to that, you are providing a free of cost services for ATS. Do you have any paid services also?
I think that's a question best answered by Ishita.
Hi, Dhruva. So actually, our ATS is free to use for all. We have different kind of features which are paid versions. Like we offer job boosts and assessment, AI assessment, which you can have access to through a paid feature. If you want to know more about this, you can ask our CSS team. I'll share the link for email ID for that. But again, reiterating the same point, our ATS is absolutely free forever. You don't have to worry about paying for our ATS platform.
But there is some problem. Actually, I am using a PyjamaHR for last 3-4 months. My recruiters are also using. We need a Gmail integration. I think these facilities you do not have.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
We want a Google Gmail integration system. As you understand that we are doing a job posting on Naukri and other monster also. So we are receiving all the CVs through Gmail at our email ID. So do you have facilities to integrate our Gmail so that automatically CV will parse and we can get a Excel sheet?
So we have a Gmail integration, but if you want to know how to use that and but it is different than resume passing. What you can do is there is a support. We have a CSS team. I'll share the email ID with you. You can just mail them, and they get back to you with all the doubts you have. And in case you have any doubts, any other doubts, you can tell us now.
Okay. And secondly, suppose we would like to parse more than 50-60 CVs and we would like to parse more than 100 CVs. So do you have this kind of facilities here so that we can bulk parsing we can do?
Yeah, so we have a Chrome extension which has just launched with new features. So you can use that for all the job portals, and you can just use that to take it from LinkedIn, Naukri, and you can bulk import these resumes.
Now that I understood, but do you suppose we would like to upload offline CVs? Suppose we are receiving from the WhatsApp, we are receiving from the references. So we already have some CVs on our desktop and laptop database. Fine. So we would like to parse them so that in future we can use them.
Yes,
do you have
can do that.
Bulk parsing facilities?
Yes, you can do that. You just have to drag and drop.
Yeah, Dhruva, hi, this is Suchil here. I'd like to answer this question for you. So if you want to store few resumes for your future references, you have something called talent pool within the ATS. So you can create folders inside the talent pool for any resumes that may be present in your desktop right now or from an old posting. You can create these subfolders, and in that you'll be able to add these resumes. You can add them in bulk, and there are also filter options where you can search it later in future.
Okay, that is compatible with the artificial intelligence also.
Yes, it is fast, and we also capture some of the details and fill up. So if you open the candidate profile, you'll be able to see some of the details from the resume which are passed over there. Dhruva, I can also share the link for the demo where you can register. Probably you'll get a better understanding about the Chrome feature, about the talent pool. Okay, I'll just drop the demo link for you.
Okay. My last question is this. I do not understand why you are providing free of cost these services.
So again, when we started the ATS, we ourselves were finding it very difficult to find an ATS for ourselves because every ATS in the market is very expensive. So that is one of our main motto why we came up, because there's no point in entering a market which already has a lot of demand, right? So we wanted the ATS to be entirely free. Now we are coming up with other paid features, like say for example, one of the major criteria that recruiters have been complaining about is the job candidates. They are not getting candidates. We have a paid feature which allows you to get more candidates. We also have introduced assessment feature. It will be live by Monday, I think, next week. And these are features that where we are generating revenue, but the core feature will be free.
Okay, and whatever the CVs we are uploading on PyjamaHR, it is strictly confidential. And
confidential, yes. Only you would be able to access.
Are you using our data for resale?
No. We are not. We have different ties with LinkedIn and other job boards where the paid feature is entirely different. It is a job boost feature, and we are not using any other database.
So that is a very, very, very good platform you have made it. But this is I could not understand why you are providing these facilities free of cost.
Yeah, because again, like I said, there's no point in entering a market. If you Google also, you'll find a lot of ATS which are already in the market.
Correct. And this is your ATS is also having a email facilities, bulk emailer to candidates.
Yes, we have bulk email, and like I said, you can mark the demo, and we'll run you through how you can integrate your Gmail account as well. Okay.
Where do you base at? Mumbai, Delhi, or where are you?
This is Bangalore.
Bangalore. We also have office because 12 locations already we have offices. I'll meet your people because I would like to suggest you so many things you can add, and you can be a very good company in ITS because mostly you have covered all the things, but somewhat you are lacking.
Okay, sure, Dhruv. I will have a call arranged. If you can share your email ID on the chat, that'd be really great.
Okay. I share you whatever the WhatsApp may received your webinar. I share at that number only.
Yes, sure.
Okay. I'll share you.
Yeah.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dhruv. Next, Neha Chahil has raised her hand.
Okay, I'll just check a question. Give me a minute.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes,
Neha.
you're audible.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I have a question that nowadays, candidates generally, they do have very, very long notice periods. It is somewhere around 90 days and all. And once the candidate gets selected, the major problem that recruiters are facing nowadays is of offer shopping. And candidates asking for irrelevant hikes almost around 100% and so what is your say on it? How do we cope up with the offer shopping, candidates backing off due to long notice periods and all?
Okay, good question here. And so we also face this problem, especially now. I feel notice period is something which needs to be respected. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
So I personally believe that it's a very healthy aspect of a job journey, and it should be respected at both ends. Of course, there are ways of shortening notice period. There are buyouts which are available. You can get the candidate much sooner in an ethical manner. Where candidates tend to shop. Okay, so I feel that's a problem with the integrity of the candidate. Okay, so my first. So of course, it's frustrating for not finding the right kind of candidates, but I think someone who accepts the candidate, if he commits to it and if he's not willing to still join the company, I think that there's a problem with his integrity. So according to me, we need to find a better candidate. So what we generally do for tech candidates is that despite having an offer, we generally try to add more people in the pipeline and keep interviewing more people. So there has to be a backup offer, multiple backup offers. That is the only way. So there have been certain roles that we've been working for about 6 to 8 months, and then we've closed about 5 roles, and there's still no one to join there. So it all depends because it also depends on what sort of a client you have. Like I said, we need to understand the clients, and we need to talk to the client. We need to talk to the line managers, and we need to present a value proposition to the candidate. It's not always about the money. It is about the work culture. It is about the different aspects. So if you're able to understand what is that particular candidate's motivation and offer him, he will stay.
Right, right. Because we are a consulting, what happens is generally we close a position and then the interviewers, they stop taking the interviews. And sometimes the candidate just before a day of joining or two, they call, when we call him for asking if he'll be joining, they tell us the no, I've got better offer and all of that. So that creates a lot of issues. So just sort of putting it forward. Anyway, thank you so much, Naveen, for your answer.
Most welcome. It's a valid issue, and the only way is that we need to communicate, and we could probably make people aware about the challenge. You know, make your
Right,
clients aware about the challenge. That's the only thing.
right, right. Yes, yes, I agree. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neha.
Thank
Kamlesh has also raised his hand.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Kamlesh.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm good, Kamlesh. How
All
about
right. So my question was with the relation to the resumes which we upload into your PyjamaHR portal directly. So for example, if I get a CV from a reference or maybe from a consultant, and I upload this in your PyjamaHR and I go and check the job, for example, I have a job which says it's a business development manager, and I upload the CVs directly over there. It becomes difficult sometimes to try to keep a track on those CVs which are from different sources, right? So do you have an option where the source can be reflected in the dashboard or something like that?
Hi, Kamlesh.
Hey, Kamlesh. Yeah, Ishita, I'll take this. So, Kamlesh, yes. So, if for reference, whenever you have a referral, there is a unique ID that every company gets. If you share that ID, automatically the source is assigned as referral and it goes into the referral folder under the talent pool. Now, for any other profile that you're uploading, what you can do is when you're uploading, it will ask you for the source. If you can mention the source from where you were uploading this, then whenever you go to the filters, when you're viewing the applications, you'll be able to filter them according to the source that they were added.
Yes, the options which it gives is limited. For example, it will give you direct, it will give you Indeed, it will give you LinkedIn, and one or two more. So, for example, if I have 2-3 CVs which consultancy has shared with me, for example, maybe a consultancy named by Proton, for example. So, if I want to track that this CV is from Proton, so I am not able to see this reference anywhere when I see the CVs in the dashboard.
Got it. So if you feel the limit, there's a limit in the options that we are allowing. What you can do is if you suggest us, if you can send us a mail with what sources you want to add, we'll be able to add it from the back end. That shouldn't be an issue. You can just let us know, because some companies have different. We've kept only the standard ones. If you have more options, you can just send it to support@pajamahr.com. We'll be able to add the sources that you want.
All right. Also, no, fine. It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kamlesh.
Let's take one question from the chat. Monica is asking, nowadays candidates demanding irrelevant hike, sometimes 100% hike from their CTC. What do you suggest on it? Naveen?
So it's again a game of demand and supply. So so what needs to be understood is, see, we need to check who is offering that 100% hike. Okay, it could be a different size of the company. It could be so in general, this happens when a smaller company is making this particular offer. So we can always talk about the other aspects. Like I said, money is not the only thing. Although yes, negotiation is a challenge when it comes to the CTC part. But you could actually build your case around other things, other aspects. If you look at all these big companies, most multinational companies, they still, even in technology, in tech, most of them still avoid giving more than 30%. So they're still doing that. So it's more about showing them the different other aspects, like stability, the work culture, security. right? So these 100% hike, I think, is only in case of smaller companies and startups, which are really trying hard to get these people.
Okay. We will take one other person who has raised his hand. Sumit Sharma.
Hi, Sumit.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Sumit.
So my question is with the team. So I just wanted to know whether we can add a tag wherein when we receive a CV from any of the candidates who applied for a position. So we have different tabs, like we have sourced, applied, hired, reject, and so on. So can we have another tab that is called like we see the CV? We for this time that CV is not useful for us, but we can put that particular candidate on hold for some time, maybe for future. So can we have that tab as well in the software?
So, Sumit, I think what you're asking is for a whole feature in the source list, right?
Right.
So, because see, again, it will be confusing for other users because sources are usually from where you got a candidate. What you can do is there is a feature called tag. So you can add a tag for a specific, candidate, where based on a tag you can search for candidates. So here, how this will help is, say, sometimes you call a candidate, he says, please call me at 6 o'clock, or some candidate you just are not sure, like how you said, is on hold. All these cases, you can add a tag rather than having it under the source tab. So again, you can book a demo or write to us. We'll send you the steps on how to add a tag.
All right. So what should I do now?
I'll just share the support email ID. You can just ask on the support, and we'll share a link on how you can, add a tag. Will that do?
Sometimes it happens that like we have posted for some different job roles, and we are receiving irrelevant CVs. So we want to scrutinize those CVs as well, to put somewhere else to use in future. So what how we can do this?
See, again, irrelevant candidates, it's very difficult to tackle this because
irrelevant, but they be in use for in future.
Yeah. So the problem is we cannot really stop from it coming, because again, people have different skill sets mentioned in their resume, because of which we get those candidates. What you can do is you can move them into the talent pool so that you can use them in future. And we are also coming up with a candidate scoring system, which will help you to keep these profiles on a low match, so that filtration becomes easier. That will be released soon.
How can we do that? Like, can we drag simply to the pool?
Yeah, if you select it, there is an option to send it to the talent pool.
Okay.
You can add it to a specific folder in the talent pool. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
I think
Manisha
wants to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. I believe I'm audible. So my question is that we are using this PyjamaHR since 1 month now, and we are 3 recruiters in the team. We are not able to bifurcate by the name of the recruiter. Suppose I am working on a position .NET developer, and if there are 10 CVs that we have passed into the ATS, that time I can see that, okay, 3 are mine, 3 are for others, 3 would be for some other recruiter. But now if the question is I pass 100 CVs, I'm not able to bifurcate how many is for which recruiter. So that is the challenge which I am facing, that every day we are working on the same position. We are 3 people, we are working on the same positions. We are not able to bifurcate by the name of the recruiter.
Got it. I think it's a very company to company thing. Mostly on a job, specific job, mostly one person is working. So we've not put something like this. But Manisha, what I can do is, if you can raise a ticket on this, we can see if we can make an exception in your case and see if we can provide you with an option where you can, specify who's adding which resume. But you'll have to raise a ticket for this.
So I understand that some of the organizations does it like that, that the one recruiter is working on the one or two positions only. But I'm not from the consultancy, I'm from the corporate HR. So that is
Okay.
one of the reasons. And another is that we have spoken to the support team as well. Okay, so they told me that they will be coming up with some of the solution, but I have not been hearing anything from them
What I
since
can do is I can remind them on this ticket and I'll ask them to send you the status of the ticket right now.
exactly, because that would not
Yeah.
be fruitful for us to moving forward with the ATS in that case, because again, we will be having number of positions and everyone will be working on that. I hope you understand
Got
on
it,
that
got it.
part.
Yeah.
And yeah, the second question would be like if I'm aligning an interview through the ATS only, and there are two positions, and for both of them, and I'm aligning at 3:30 or any other time. So at the same time, I can't align the second interview. It's showing that the interview slot has already been booked, and I can't
Yeah.
align the second
Again,
interview.
it's the same problem that one person can take only one interview at a time, sort of a logic, but you can override. Because this issue was raised by most of the people, there is an option where you can override the interview and mark another interview. So I will ask the support team to send you a link on how to override another interview that's already marked, I think.
Okay, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Nikita wants to speak.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Nikita. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, Nikita.
Hello.
Nikita, we can hear you. You can go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. I think there's some problem with the mic. Meanwhile, I think Ishita, you can take the other questions.
Okay, Naveen, there is a question from Bhumika. How can companies measure the success of their hiring efforts, and what metrics should they be tracking to ensure that they are hiring the right people for the job?
Okay, so I think this is a two-part, there would be a two-part answer to this. One part is when the person comes on board. Okay, so the metrics that we'll be looking at is the turnaround time, which matters. So we need to look at how when a role opens and how soon can you close that particular role, at least the offer part, and when you can get the candidate to join. So that is one part of it. So there, of course, the TAT matters, and something which affects the TAT eventually is the qualification ratio. How many profiles are you sourcing? And of these profiles, how many are going to the interview stage? So this is something which is going to matter. So there's the qualification ratio, the numbers, of course, and the offers which are made. Now, when you talk about whether you made a quality hire or not, how companies generally evaluate that is, of course, it depends on how, the length of, there are multiple aspects again. So how long has the candidate stayed in the company? Then his performance during his performance appraisal, where is he getting ranked? So for every role, most companies have KRAs defined. So they measure these KRAs, they check, they track performance year-on-year basis. And based on that, you can have a report in the end of the year and check whether this candidate was the right fit for the role. And of course, there's feedback which can be taken from the management, from senior managers as well as parallel.
Thanks, Naveen. Would you be able to support it? I think there are a few questions about Pajama HR. I think Suchil, can you answer them? Like Vinod is asking, do Pajama HR have iOS mobile application?
Yes, we do have a mobile application for both Android and iOS.
Okay. And how do we find candidates for a very niche profile? Vinisha is asking.
Speaker.
Okay. Yes. So when it comes to niche profile, when you're not getting a profile, the traditional approach will not be possible. So then you need to identify who are the stakeholders for that niche profile. Okay, so that's where deep diving into that role matters. You need to understand what industry he is operating in. Second, you need to understand what are his stakeholders. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm audible.
Yes, you are, Naveen. Please
Okay,
continue.
there's some disturbance. Yeah. So, what sort of okay, just lost myself there. Yeah. Huh. So, yeah, once you are aware about what industry is operating in, what are the stakeholders, you would be able to. Here are a few tips which I have followed when it comes to looking for niche people. Um, get into forums, find where these people in general socialize. You could also, so that's on the physical part. If you talk about the internet, also there are a lot of forums, there are a lot of support groups where you'll find these profiles. If you talk about technology, there's GitHub which is there. Then if you talk about LinkedIn groups are there where you could find people and you could try to connect with them directly. So things have got much easier with LinkedIn now because so in general, I really did not have to venture out elsewhere. Most of my requirements get fulfilled through LinkedIn. But it's about finding the right person, connecting with them, and then putting across your message.
Anika is asking, how important is employer branding when it comes to hiring in the current scenario? And how can we ensure that it is on point?
So we covered this particular part briefly earlier. Now, so to understand employer branding, we need to first understand what are the aspects. We need to think from the applicant's point of view. Okay, what is it that he will be looking at when we talk about? So I work with a lot of startups. Okay, and some of these startups could be at the 0 to 1 phase. So when they're at a 0 to 1 phase, they are really not well-known startups. They don't have, some of them don't even have first round of funding, right? So we need to first identify, if we have to create an employer brand, we need to look at what is the motivation. Okay, so in general, the motivation to join a startup is because of the kind of the exposure that you would get. It is the quick growth that you can get in a startup. So you would be for any kind of role that you are sourcing for, you need to first find out what are the key elements which would matter to the candidate, and then accordingly build an employer brand. So it is subjective to every client. So deep dive into every client that you're working on, then you need to customize an employer brand and build a brand. And of course, employer brand is something which is taken care of by the client. In terms of I'm talking about building an employer brand when pitching or approaching a candidate.
Naveen, I think we can take a couple of more questions.
Sure.
Okay, so I think Jivita and Nikita both want to talk. I'll just allow them one by one.
Sure.
Nikita, Jivita, will you like to talk right now?
I think she's having an issue with the mic. Nitik, can you actually type the question maybe and we'll answer it?
Till then, there is one more question from Bhumika. How should we balance the need for speed in hiring with the needs to thoroughly vet candidates and ensure a good cultural fit in a startup?
No, you can. I don't believe that you can hurry up things. So you have to take your time. You know, the process, whatever process is required to be followed. I think we need to follow that. So if you have to evaluate a candidate, I think it is important to, because you're eventually you need to make an informed decision, right? If you're going to hire a person, because it's not just a month that you're hiring him for. He's going to be in your organization. It's going to have a ripple effect. It's going to affect a lot of other aspects in your organization. So I don't think speed is something which we need to look at. Efficiency, yes. You need to have a turnaround time which has to be a fair turnaround time. You know, so we always say your goals need to be smart. So as long as you're time oriented and whatever goal timeline that you're setting is fair, I think you should be able to find the right candidate. But yes, hurrying up on finding any candidate is not the right approach.
Great. I think we are all done. So I just
I
want
think
to
there was
say,
Jeevita who's waiting to talk.
she's not able to speak. I'll just ask to unmute again. Jivita?
If she can type,
Yes, now it is audible.
Yes, you are audible now.
Yes,
Please go
I
ahead.
wanted to know that Pyjama is integrated with LinkedIn.
Yes, yes. The PyjamaHR is integrated with LinkedIn, and you will be able to post unlimited jobs through the integration.
Okay.
Yeah. So we actually automatically link if you've already provided your company details, we link it automatically. But otherwise, you can go under your LinkedIn, your integrations tab under settings, and you will be able to see if it's already integrated with your LinkedIn account. If it is integrated, then you will be able to publish all your jobs to LinkedIn.
Okay. Like if we start uploading in Pyjama, do we have to need to set any like anything we have to need to set to upload in LinkedIn, or it is if we upload in the Pyjama directly, it will
Yeah. So basically, whenever you create a job description, make sure you add the skills that you require for the job at the end of the job description that you're creating, and you can post it normally, and then go to publish on different job boards. There you will find the option to publish it on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I think Nikita typed a question.
I think it's the same thing.
Yeah. Dhruv, you can mail this concern to our CSST. So with concluding this first part of webinar, I want to say a great session, Navin. I feel our participants also enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you everyone for joining us today for this insightful webinar. We hope you found the information and strategies shared by Navin helpful. Also, a gentle reminder, we are hosting a 3-part series on this ABC of modern hiring. Do not forget to tune in next week and get exclusive insights on the holistic recruitment process. Remember, PyjamaHR is always here to help you streamline your hiring process, and we would be happy to assist you in any way we can. Navin, do you want to speak right now?
no, it's all right. Thank you guys. So looking forward to meet you next week.
Thank you once again for your time and participation. Have a great day.